नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो नलिननेत्राय वेणुवाद्यविनोदिने राधाधरसुधाप्राणशालिने वनमालिने महाभावस्वरूपास्त्वं कृष्णप्रियवरीयसि प्रेमभक्तिप्रदे देवी श्रीराधिका त्वं नमोऽस्तु ते। Hare Krishna. So we'll continue our discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22 and text number 22. In previous verses we have seen that Maharaj Prithu, he asked a question to Sanat Kumara that Tadaham Pritavishrambaha Surudho Tapasvina Sampruche Bhava Etasmi Shemaha Kena Anjasa Bhavet. So he asked here, Shemaha Kena Anjasa Bhavet. So Shemaha Kena Anjasa Bhavet means oh my Lord, please let me know. Kshemaha, the ultimate good of everyone. He says Anjasa. Anjasa means without delay. How, while staying in this material world, one can attain his ultimate good as soon as possible? So in answer to that question, Sri Sanat Kumar, he says in the text number 21, he says that Shastreshvayanev sunishchito nrunam kshemasya sandhravyam vrusheshu hetuhu asanga atma vyatirikta atmani dhrudaratir brahmani nirgunecha. It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures, after due consideration, that the ultimate goal of the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life, an increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature. So here clearly he says, Kshemaha Sandhya Pasheshu. The ultimate welfare is that which is asanga. Asanga means getting detached from the bodily concept of life. And Ratir Brahmani Nirgunechaya, and developing attachment at the lotus feet of the Lord. Then question comes, how one can attain that attachment? What one should do to get attached to the lotus feet of their Lordship? In answer to that question, Srila Sanat Kumar says, Sa shraddhaya bhagavatam rachayaya jidnyasaya adhyatma yoga nishtaya yogeshwaropasanaya cha nityam punyashravakathaya punyaya cha. He says that Sa shraddhaya bhagavatam rachayaya. Attachment for the Supreme can be increased by practicing devotional service. Then Next thing he says that charachaya, one should discuss. Jitnyasaya, one should inquire about. Adhyatmikaha nishaya, one should discuss and inquire about the spiritual matter, which he says that yoga nishya, which will increase your understanding for the Supreme Personality of God. And he says that should be upasanaya cha nityam, that regularly one should worship the Supreme Personality of God. And further he says, sa punya shravaha kathaya punyaya cha, that hearing and chanting about the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, these actions are pious in themselves. See, here we need to understand that the question that was asked by Prithu Maharaj was also asked later by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami also. And same question was asked by great sages in Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami. So in answer to that question, Suta Goswami, he narrated the whole Bhagavad to all these great sages. And in that, he explained the conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, where Parikshit Maharaj also asked same question to Shukadeva Goswami, that how one can attain the ultimate goal of life as soon as possible. So while giving answer to that question, Shukadeva Goswami, he quotes from the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So when Maitreya was asked by Vidurji about same inquiry, then he narrated the dialogue between Prithu Maharaj and Sanat Kumar, where the answer was given by the Sanat Kumar. Because Sanat Kumar is one of the greatest authority on this. And then he said, there are 5 things that one should do to increase his attachment to their Lordship. The first thing he says that, sa shraddhaya bhagavatam charchaya. To intensify that attachment with the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, he says that one should do Bhagavata Charcha. Last time we have discussed that what are the qualities of devotees of their Lordship. The first and foremost quality of the devotees of the Lord is that Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They take pleasure and their mind is always engaged. In what? Bodhayanti paraspara. They enlighten each other with the wonderful narrations of Supreme Personality of God. That's when they do Bhagavata Charcha. They discuss and they inquire about the wonderful pastime of their Lordship. So that is the first thing that one can do to develop attachment for the Supreme Personality of God, or to increase attachment for the Supreme Personality of God. The second thing he says that Jitnyasaya Adhyatma Yoga Nishtaya. One should inquire. Generally what happens, when people they go to any spiritual personality, they think that they have to just keep quiet. Definitely you have to keep quiet when that saintly person is speaking. But to make him speak, you need to inquire from him. That's the way of gaining spiritual knowledge. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that Tat Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Pariprashnena Sevaya. You should accept that knowledge by proper inquiry. And that inquiry should be Pranipatena, with humility. Not to show off our own knowledge or own understanding, but to show our own ignorance. People does not like to show their ignorance, but it is visible for everyone. They think that they are not showing it, but by their behavior or by their talk itself, you can understand their ignorance. But someone who is enlightening you, that time you have to keep quiet and listen to him. Then further he says, Adhyatma Yoga Nishtaya. So when you go to the spiritual personality, you should ask him about Adhyatma. You should ask him about spirituality, not your material problems. They will be there, no one is going to take it away. Because you got this body. So whatever sufferings and whatever happiness you're supposed to get through this body, you're going to get it. Nobody is going to reduce that or going to increase it. They are meant for that. So don't discuss that matter with spiritual personalities. Then he says, ask them about what? Yoga Nishtaya. About the spirituality and how you can get connected to the Lord with nishtha, with lot of or with a strong faith. Then further he says, Yogeshwara Upasanaya cha nityam. So if you really want to intensify your attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he says that one should Upasanaya nityam. Regularly you should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how to do that? Then he says, Punya Shrava Kathaya Punyaya. By hearing the most pure pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because that's what going to purify you. The same thing was explained by Sutta Goswami in the first canto, second chapter, text number 17 to 21. He clearly mentions that Shrunuvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanto Asya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suratsaram. What can cleanse your heart is the wonderful pastimes or hearing about the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will clean your heart. And that's what one should do, because that will also increase your punya. Then question comes, why you are thinking about punya? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that Esham tu tantagatam papam jananam punya karmanaha te dvandvam moha niramukta bhajati mamanaya. To become fixed in devotional service, one has to become completely cleansed from the contaminations of material modes of nature. And that is moha and krodha. Because that is what binds you in this material world. And how to get rid of that? One need to get rid of a papa. When you get rid of a papa, then automatically the punya, or when you get rid of a sinful activities, then your pious credit will increase. And when you do that punya, then what happens? Your heart will get cleansed. You will become qualified to get attached to the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. So unless and until you get rid of your papa, it becomes very difficult to get attached to the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. And what one has to do for that? One should hear about the Lord. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavata bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangam. One, when he pays attention and listen the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then his heart gets cleared of tatha rajas tamo bhava raga lobha dayashreya. Your heart will get rid of attachment, will get rid of lust, and anger. And that will help you to develop attachment for the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. In the next verse, he says, Adhayendriyaram sogoshtaya trushnaya tatsammatan apparigrahena cha viviktarucha paritosha atmai vina harer guna piyoshapanat. When you want to get attached or increase your attachment to the Lordship, then there are few things that you need to follow in your life. So what are those things? Those are explained here in this verse by Sanat Kumar. The first thing he says that one has to make progress in spiritual life by not associating with a person who are simply interested in sense gratification and making money. Second thing he says, not only such a person, but one who associates with such a person should be avoided. Third thing he says, one should mold his life in such a way that he cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification of Supreme Personality of the Godhead. One can be thus elevated by being disgusted with the test for sense income. So in this material world, everyone is interested in two things: sense gratification, and to gratify those senses, you need money. So they are engaged in sense gratification and making money. So that's not the sole purpose of this life. As explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 1st chapter, at text number 3. Shukadeva Goswami says, Nidraya riyate naptam vyavavayena chavavayaha tiva chakina rajan kutumba pranena. This is the typical example of a materialistic person. Nidraya riyate naptam. They waste their night in sleeping, and day they use it for earning money so that they can sleep nicely. Prabhupada clearly says here, at night they waste time by sleeping more than 6 hours or by wasting time in a sex indulgence. This is their occupation at night, and in the morning they go to the office or business just to earn money. As soon as there is some money, they become busy in purchasing things for their children and others. Such persons are never interested in understanding the values of life. What is God? What is the individual soul? What is its relationship with the God, etc. Things are degraded to such an extent that those who are supposed to be religious are also, at the present moment, interested only in sense gratification. Nowadays, we can see the most of the people, they start spiritual organization. It's for the sense gratification only. The whole thing is based on that. Rather than delivering knowledge to the people, they are selling it. Knowledge should be given, not sold. When you sow or when you sell that knowledge, it does not have real value. Person will not take it seriously also. There is a difference between knowledge and information. Most of the time we are engaged in collecting information. When that information transforms your heart, that is called as a knowledge. Most of the time we keep gathering just information. That doesn't help us to transform our heart. And this transformation of heart happens when you approach a proper authority of that knowledge. In market there are so many religious institutes and so-called religious leaders. They are propagating their own speculation and they say it is based on the scripture. But it is nothing but a sense gratification only. Because they are seeing the interest of people rather than creating interest in them about spirituality. So they are trying to mold the spiritual path in such a way that can goes to this sense gratifier. Like yoga, most of the people they go for meditation classes. Can you build a sixth floor first before building the first, fifth, fourth, third, first, and ground? Is it possible? Can you do that? If somebody says I can do that, then he must be a mystic or maybe a crazy fellow. But whoever think that we are going for meditation, all they are crazy only. Because meditation is the sixth stage of yoga. For that first one you need to follow niyama, yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, and then comes dhyan, that is meditation. So it's the sixth stage of yoga and people wanted to just jump on that stage immediately. What about the rest of them? And then they comes with a hot yoga and that yoga and this yoga. That's not the way. If you want to attain something, then go step by step. And that will help. And that's why he says here that one should not associate with such a people. If you think you will be benefited by that, then it's a foolishness. Because the person who is himself sinking down, how he can going to save someone else who is drowning? That's why the first clear instruction has given here by Sanat Kumar, that one should give up the association of material people or people who are attached to the materialistic people. And then further he says that one should not live without a moment hearing about the Lordship. And one should constantly hear about the Lord. And that's what Lord wants actually. Bhagavad Gita, Lord says clearly that Satatam Kirtayantoma, one should chant or discuss about Lord constantly. And then further Prabhupada said, simple negotiation or giving up the company of materialistic persons will not do. We must have engagements. Sometimes it is found that a person interested in a spiritual advancement gives up the company of material society and goes to the secluded place as recommended for the yogis especially. But that will also not help a person in spiritual advancement. For in many instances, such a yogis also fall down. As far as gyanis are concerned, generally they fall down without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The impersonalist or the voidist can simply avoid the positive material association. They cannot remain fixed in a transcendence without being engaged in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to hear about the glories of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. That is recommended in this verse. Vina harer guna piya piyushapana. One must drink the nectar of the glories of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. And this means that one must be always engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. It is the prime method of advancing in spiritual life. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommends this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If one wants to make advancement in spiritual life, by great fortune, he may meet a bona fide spiritual master. From him, learn about Krishna. So here again, important thing as I explained that one should meet a bona fide spiritual master. So what it means actually, what is this bona fide spiritual master? See, if you want to be engineer, you need to go to institute which has that course. You can't go to the management college and aspire to get the degree in technology or engineering. Is it possible? No. You need to go to a proper engineering college which is authorized by the university to avail with those engineering courses. So same way, if someone wants to get attached to the Lord, then there are some bona fide institutes. They are called as a sampradaya. If you go to them and get initiated or get enrolled yourself in those institutes by taking initiation from the bona fide spiritual master there. Who is bona fide spiritual master? Who comes in that paramparas or in those sampradayas? Basically, there are 4 main Vaishnava sampradayas in which you can get trained up in Vaishnavism. There are other sampradayas also, those are meant for the people who want to worship Shiva, who want to worship Durga or Shakti. For them there is a Shakta sampradaya, there is a Shaiva sampradaya. But someone who really wants to know about Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, then they should take shelter of those sampradayas, those bona fide sampradayas, like Sri Sampradaya, Chatushkumar Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Brahma Sampradaya. So these are authorized and bona fide institute as recommended by our Vedic scriptures. In Padma Puran, there is a nice quotation which says that Sampradaya Vihinate Mantraste Nishvalamataha Atha Kalo Bhavishanti Chatvara Sampradaya. If someone takes any mantra from anywhere other than taking from the bona fide sampradaya, then it is useless. You may chant that mantra for millions of years, it's not going to give you the desired result. But if you aspire to get the desired result, then you should take that mantra from proper sampradaya. So which are those sampradaya? For the Vaishnavas, it said that Shri, Rudra, Brahma, Kumar, those are the sampradayas. Those are headed by 4 personalities in the age of Akali. Sri Sampradaya was preached and headed by Sripad Ramanujacharya. Then Kumar Sampradaya, which was headed by Nimbarka Acharya in this age of Akali. And Rudra Sampradaya, which was headed by Vishnu Swami and recently known as Vallabha Sampradaya. And then comes Brahma Sampradaya, which was headed by Madhvacharya. And this ISKCON, it also belongs to this Madhva Sampradaya. So if you really want to know about their lordship, Krishna, then you should take shelter of one of these 4 sampradayas. Accept bona fide spiritual master from those sampradayas. Then you are going to get a proper knowledge about the Lord. Otherwise, you will be misled. And that's why Prabhupada clearly says here, by great fortune, he may meet a bona fide spiritual master and from him learn about Krishna. By serving both the spiritual master and Krishna, he gets the seed of devotional service, that is Bhakti Lata. And if he sows the seed within his heart and waters it by hearing and chanting, it grows into luxuriant Bhakti Lata or Bhakti Kriya. See, one need to understand here that devotional service is just like a grapevine. And those seeds are planted in our heart by spiritual master. And to nourish that seed and fructify it and make it into the plant, one need to water it and put a fertilizers for that. So what is that exactly for the Bhakti Lata vision or for the seed of devotional service? That is hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when you start hearing about the Lord, then the devotion for the Lord that intensifies in your heart. The grapevine is so strong that it penetrates the covering of the universe and reaches to the spiritual world and continues to grow on and on until it reaches and takes on and on until it takes a solid shelter on a roof. Then it is very steadily grows and produces required fruit. The real cause of growing of such a fruit, which is there called as a nectar of hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to water the creeper of devotional service by hearing and chanting. The purport is that one cannot live outside the society of devotees. One must live in the association of devotees. Where there is a constant chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord. The Krishna consciousness movement is started for this purpose, so that hundreds of ISKCON centers may give people to chance to hear and chant, to accept the spiritual master and disassociate themselves from persons who are materially interested. For in this way, one can make solid advancement in going back home, back to God. If someone really wants to make a progress, then things to do, yama, those are given. First thing, association of devotees. Second thing, in association you should discuss the wonderful glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Third thing, keep away yourself from the association of materialistic person and people who are attached to those materialistic persons. And fifth and foremost important thing is that don't give up hearing about the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which are nectarian. So we'll stop here, and next Saturday we'll discuss that what he explains